I've been studying the aviation industry for uh, the last few months in regards to the coronavirus COVID-19, and especially because basically it's now past the 1st of July and the EU have put on their own travel sanctions, i.e. the bans, and America's one of the countries. And it's not to say, I feel really bad for America, Brazil, and blah blah blah. Which I do. I feel bad for anyone that needs to travel. But, however, we must all realise there is no real ban. It's just basically the capacity restrictions. The flights are really there. They're just you have to prove that it's an emergency. That's basically what that really is all about. But, however, I wanted to pose this question because it's all about physical distancing. The modern day phrase now, which falls under the laws of political correctness, which are how do I put that? They are not written laws, but they are socially acceptable laws, because that's kind of really what political correctness is, even though political correctness is written into some laws, because people are disciplined via political correctness laws. So going back to physical distancing, which we now call social distancing, I was thinking about this theory because at some point, just as a hobby, I wanted to write a script about Concord, the life of Concord, and why Concord basically disappeared from the aviation industry. And I was thinking about some of these companies who blatantly, after being pushed, turned around and said that they had no intentions of doing any refurbishment in regards to social distancing on their planes. And some passengers, patrons, customers complaining to the hills that they were actually on board flights that were packed to capacity, meaning that there was no social distancing. They were just packed. And the reason I was thinking about that is because looking at the aspect of how the virus mutates, person to person, person to animal, and droplets, the aviation industry is the biggest community business, because it is a community business. All aspects of community utilize that business for an enclosed period of time, hence no air, to travel. And within the word travel, there's so much that comes up in the way of business. But I was thinking of this structure, and I was wondering if that's what they thought about, and they definitely decided to say no, because there's a possibility that it could open doorways of the whole of the aviation industry being sued at some point later on down the line. Now, this is the theory. Just imagine you're on a plane, and imagine where the pilot cabin is, where the pilot in the cockpit is. Now, from there, walking, facing the passengers, from there, imagine that there are no 3 aisles, because on some planes there's 2 aisles, and on some planes there's 3 aisles. So imagine that there isn't 3 aisles, it's just 1 aisle. And it goes back for, say, 4 to 6 rows. Then after that, the aisle splits into 2. And so it would be along the side of the plane, and it continues to the back of the plane. Now, I'm just going to go over that again. Imagine you're on a plane, and you are in the pilot's cabin, the pilot in the cockpit. You walk out of the pilot's cabin, the pilot in the cockpit, facing the passengers, and there is one aisle. One aisle. For as far as 4 to 6 rows. And then it splits into 2 aisles along the side of the plane all the way to the end of the plane. There's a reason that I wanted you guys to think about that, because those 4 to 6 aisles are supposed to be designed for those that need to be physically distanced from the rest of the people on the plane. The group that falls into this is anyone and everyone on social benefits. Most countries around the world have social benefits. Most countries around the world have social benefit system. I'm going to repeat this again. Most countries around the world have social benefits. It's a social benefit system. So they have a social benefit system, they have an unemployment system, and they have, to some aspect, an emergency aid system. Now, the people on social benefits are the ones that need physical distancing / social distancing the most. Hence, why a lot of, let's just say, segments in the news is geared towards age groups. And now they've turned around and said it's not really geared towards age groups, it's geared towards a list of people that are high risk. And a lot of these people are pre-illness. So pre-illness before coronavirus. If that design was put into a plane, I'm just thinking, could you imagine, like, if that design was put into a plane, like from today onwards, how many people would actually want to sue the airline industry? Because all they would have to say is this one thing: HIV/AIDS, and then all the other viruses and illnesses and coughs and skin breakouts and, you know, blah 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 blah. But I just found that really funny, because listening to the news and doing some research and hearing that certain companies turned around and said they're not doing any social distancing structuring, it made me think. That really made me think. But anyway, this is a good film idea, so it's going on my Facebook page, and when I get some time, I want to play around with stuff like that. What do you guys think?